Hello, welcome to a new episode of the Jedi Archives. I am Bryce.
And I'm Mike. Hello, everybody. And today we've got a one shot issue of Star Wars The High Republic Adventures, Dark Horse Comic Phase 3, Crash Landing #1. It's a one shot. So it's quite a mouthful, but here we go. This,
Mhm.
this one takes place right after The High Republic Adventures, Phase 3, #6. Here you do games. So when I first read through the High Republic Adventures, I went right through, 1 through 10. And I'm like, wait a minute, what happened? I was confused. And then I remembered the one shot. And
Yep,
so,
I kind of sporadically put those in there in this particular line.
yeah, but they are actually quite important to the storyline. So if you don't read the one shots, you're going to be a little bit confused about what's going on. Um, I mean, you don't have to, you'll pick it up eventually, but since we're here, after issue #6 of the High Republic Adventures, we do come to this Crash Landing one shot. And
Mhm.
in this one, it's with Crash, Angwa, and her ragtag crew have been fighting against everyone who have had a hand in the Nile infiltration that plunged her home planet of Corellia into chaos. Even though an uneasy peace has been reached, if they don't continue the fight, everything they sacrifice or everything they sacrificed for could slip away. Now, Crash has a lead on the person behind the entire Nile plot. If her crew can accomplish this mission, could true peace be on the horizon for Corellia? That's what we'll find out. And this issue has one cover,
Yep, cool
and
because
it's
it's like
actually,
the usual suspects.
yeah, it is really
What it
cool.
reminds me
And
of.
the comic is a nice like cardstock cover. So it's glossy, it's really fancy. So I liked
Oh
it.
yeah, the whole comic you can just tell was just completely, well made.
Mhm, mhm. So, and it says here one shot, so which is cool. And here we see on the cover, we have Crash's mother, right? And then we have
Yep,
her bodyguard on the far right. And
the
then I
former
forget.
Padawan.
Yes, that's right.
Um, yeah, that dude was
The big guy, he's a Duatin, right? Because he's got those
Fezunk.
Fazank, yes.
Yeah,
And
Fezunk. That's yeah.
who's the lady with the four arms?
Oh, it's Sevi
Yeah. And
or
it's four number
Savino.
four arms, not four
Savino.
arms.
Savino.
Svino.
SVI''NO.
Okay, cool. So nice cover. And then we know how tall they are now. And I'm assuming this is meters.
Yeah, I
So
would I would imagine.
like 2
But
meters.
scoundrels too. Like if we think of Star Wars books, like this has scoundrels had a very similar cover with Han, Lando, and
Right.
that Timothy Zahn wrote.
That was a fun book too. I like that one.
Yeah,
That's
but
that's
yeah,
the one
it's
that had
all
the lightsaber butter knife, right?
yeah. But it's kind of cool. It all obviously is inspired by the Usual Suspects movie. You know,
Yeah. Nice. So then I already read the intro. Characters in this issue are here we are. Ongwa, which is Crash, Crick's
Yep,
Camrat, Rube, the bodyguard, former
yep,
Padawan, Svino, Achapat, 10K8, 5AG3, Bainu Ongwa, which is Crash's mom,
yep.
Kroger Sheem, former
Former
Nile,
Nile.
Lula Talasola, Ovis Buckle, Cyan Holt, which I was excited to see again because she's from the original series when we first started off. When she was like the musician and
Yeah,
she
and
falls in love with that
she
Jedi
was.
Emmerich Camphor.
Yeah, what was that? That was the four comic thing. Now I can't remember the name of it off the top of my
Right.
head.
Well, because it was way at the beginning. It's so long ago. But
Yeah.
yes, that was years ago. But it was good. So I'm glad to see her back. We got Dean Morella, The Eye of the Nile, Markian Ro, Fazank, Matari, and Voru. And those are the cameos from them, but those are the Chancellor's pets,
Mm,
right?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. And so getting into this issue at the beginning, I liked it because it has like a flashback to when Crash is a little girl and
Hmm.
she goes up to this tree, right? And so it sets up
Yes.
the importance of that tree, that family tree. It's a literal tree. And then as it goes through, she wakes up like from a nap, but I think she was just having a flashback or a dream. I'm not sure which, if she was meditating. But from that flashback, she comes back to the present time. And
Mm.
then she's a little snippy. She's got a little attitude. I like her. She's
Right.
funny,
Yeah. Yes.
mhm, very snippy, and even with her mom, and her mom's like a little firecracker
Yeah.
too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So funny. And then Rue, he's kind of weird because his eyes freak me out. He's got those like galaxy eyes.
Yeah, there's the one panel they really showed it. It's almost like a starry abyss, like what his eyes are, and it's a couple times when he's buck, it's a buckle or bucknell um when Crash goes to visit. Obviously, Rue's with Crash, but he's like, get him out. Like I can't look at his eyes. Yeah, those look pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
Well,
Um,
it gave me Abeloth vibes because that's how Abeloth's eyes were described too.
mm, yeah, I think I've seen some artwork that where that's present. Yeah,
Mhm.
which we might actually
So
see in live action here soonish.
I think so. I think we might. So then in the present time, back to the comic, they're they're spying on the former Nile, right? Seeing what he's doing,
Mhm.
and Rue is there, and Crash like, oh, what did she
Well,
say?
yeah,
Crash,
Rue hadn't been heard from, so they weren't sure when, where he was, what he was doing, and they were following that former Nile to try to get information out of him for to see, hey, who's we need to know who was behind this. You're on the list, and then Rue obviously was there, lightsaber in hand.
about to slice Kroger down, right? Kroger Sheen, the former
Right.
Nile,
Yeah, Kroger. Yeah, thanks.
and then Crash is like, oh, what did she
Right.
say? Criff, or what did she say? She's got a name.
Something Kark.
Yeah,
Let me
cart, cart.
find it
She's
here.
saying cart, cart, cart. She says cart, cart, cart over and over. So she's rushing over there because she doesn't want him to strike him down, and so
Right.
she gets in between. But then throws his cleaver, right?
Yes, then I do believe that's what he referred to it as, is
Yeah, so he
throwing
throws
the
his
cleaver.
cleaver, and but Rue, of course, easily misses it. He jumps over it, dodges it, but then he
Mm,
raises his cleaver again to hit Crash,
Crash.
and she just like blasts it out of his hand, blowing a hole through it, which is pretty funny.
Mm,
He's like, "What are you doing? I'm gonna murder you." And she's like, "Yeah, yeah, whatever." She goes, "But you know what? Since
right.
I don't need you anymore, so I'm just gonna sentence you to death." It's like she gets right to the point.
Basically, yeah. And that's when he gives up the name Crix
Crick's
Crammer.
camera, which is important because then when you go back to the main series of the adventures, that's why
Yeah.
we see Cricks later. So I was confused, like,
Yeah, and
how
then
many
the
times
whole
is
crew with Crash shows up too. So it's like, yeah, it's weird because you do miss information that this one shot provides that if you don't read it, it's one of those ones where it's not like a true annual, like it's a kind of a separate story. It's part of the
right?
story. So you kind of have to figure out where it goes in between everything.
hmm So Crash just she goes to is that Corellia where the
Yeah, yeah.
she goes
Nope,
back to
it's on
Corellia, right?
Coronet. Nope, Coronet City,
Yeah, Cornet City in Corellia, and
where
she
everything in Midnight Horizon takes
hmm
place.
and then she talks to the what's his new title? He's
That's
Arch
he's
Premier Buckle. Yeah, Arch
yes,
Premier
yes,
Buckle.
Arch Premiere, which is such a weird title. But
Yeah. And
and they kind
so
of have a verbal spat, and he basically just says, "I'm done. I'm done with you."
right. And then when it shows up to the cantina, and that's where we see Cyan
Lula.
playing her instrument and Lula.
Yep.
And she's there meeting her friends, and then this is a familiar scene when they meet, and that's when she still doesn't remember everything, right? She's
Right, because she showed
confused,
her the hollow of Crix,
and she
and
doesn't really remember him.
you know what? But she kind of like leaves the hollow up though, because then shortly after they're having the conversation, then Zine shows up, and it's almost like when Zine shows up, um, her mind then is like, "Oh, I do remember who that is,"
Right.
and
She
she
remembered
says
he
that
was
was the last
somebody.
face that I saw before the world started burning.
Right, right. And then we see Lula and Zine because Lula's having like a breakdown, right? When she realizes that was the last one I saw. But she goes, "Don't worry, we're gonna get through this."
Mhm.
And then it goes back to the flashback of the tree, right? Or is it that's now present time, right? Crash goes to
Well,
visit the tree that she had seen in the flashback.
yes, correct. She
And
goes
she's
back to the
like, I've got to.
tree and starts to say "I," and then somebody's like, "Hey, you know, we need you. Come in." Over the radio as you see like her headpiece and her.
Hmm. And I think that was a dream, right? Because she wakes up.
Yes,
Yeah, it was a
correct.
dream. So just like the first at the beginning, it was a nap. She was taking a nap and she was dreaming about the tree, but when she was
Yeah,
young. And then now she's dreaming again about the tree. So she
yeah.
has some anxiety about that tree. That's like it reminds me of like in Avatar, how they had the big Awa tree, right? And it was so important to their whole
Oh,
society.
yeah, yeah.
So this tree is similar to that, and that's how I took it. That it's like
And
that.
Wookiees have the same similar thing too.
Right, right. With the
Yeah.
worship trees, they have that
Yes.
symbiosis.
Yeah. It's not one singular tree, but they do have that
Them, it's the whole
symbiotic
forest.
relationship with those
Hmm.
bigger trees that they live in.
Right, because they also like meditate to the trees.
Mhm. Which we see Gunji do in
Hmm.
Bad Batch.
Gunji, he's so cute. Um, and so then they go off to find Crix, right? Because they think that he might be the key to solving this.
Yes.
And they go to the what is it, a prison?
Yeah, but so this is my Trek hawking moment here, as both Crash and Rue suit up in these space suits and jettison themselves out of a ship and go into where Crix is being held. It is
Hmm.
very reminiscent of Star Trek. What is it? Into the Darkness, when you see Pine and Benedict Cumberbatch shoot themselves out going through space to land into the other ship across the way.
Oh yes, yes. Here, I
So
can I can share that
there's
panel.
the Trek hawking. There's the Trek hawking moment there for you
Good thing
from
Jonathan's not here.
this. So, but kind of funny. Like, yeah, they land on the prison, and once they're in, they ditch the suits and then
Here,
find.
watch. It's this panel, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it is
Yeah,
very
only they're
tricky.
going into a prison versus, flying in another ship, but it is essentially that same, "Hey, we're gonna genesis ourselves out of what we're flying in and then land into the prison undetected." So, yeah, it's very much Star Trek Into the Darkness.
Yeah, it looks really good. I like it. I'm a Trekkie too, so I don't mind it.
Right.
And so then here they are. They get there, and he's her bodyguard, of course, so he's with her.
Mhm.
And then they find him,
Fine Crix.
Crix.
Yep.
And Crix is a little. It's in his name. He's a rat. He's just a rat. I can't stand
Right.
him.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why his name is Camerat. Um, so he's. Oops. Stop sharing there. And so then he kind of like weasels out, starts telling him. He starts feeding them all these lies
Mhm.
about his importance. His self-importance, and
Yep.
you know,
And we
and and she
Well,
falls
then we
for it,
see
right?
that, yeah, and then we see that it must be a flashback with him and Markian Rowe because that's Markian's only appearances while he's talking, um, and saying all these things. And that's where we see the Chancellor's dogs too.
Right, but he also, and that's like in his, it's in his mind. So
Yeah,
he's got these big old visions, and in his mind he takes out Markion Rowe, right? So he's
right.
claiming that he'll be able to do this if
Hmm.
Crash can help him, and so then she kind of falls for it, right? And that's right. We see the Chancellor's pets there.
Yeah,
Uh, so he's like, I can help you do this, and Crash is like, well, if you can do this, then that would help end all of this, right? This could be the
right,
key. And so she agrees to take him out to break him out of prison. And they take him. But when they go back to the ship, they have their suits on, but he doesn't. How does he survive?
um
They got there really fast?
I'm trying to think. Let me look at that panel again because
Yeah, because she just like grabs him and says, hold on. And they just like jettison out. But
and
they've got their masks and their suits.
oh yeah, he's just being held there.
So they must be in some type of, I guess their ship is still in orbit or in the atmosphere.
Yes.
Is it just hovering in atmosphere?
It must be low enough that it didn't affect him at
Yeah.
all. But yeah, then they go to the thing, and of course there's the panel with the ship taking off, and the big language. What did you do, Crash? And then
Yeah.
the very next panel is got Crick sitting there, next to a computer room with a lightsaber out, and
Pointing it at him. Yep. And they're like, "What are you
yeah,
doing? You're supposed to, it was simple." And she's like, "No, no, no. Listen." And she's trying to all confused, right? Because she's really worried about the tree, and she
yeah.
wants
And
to do
so when
whatever she
she gets
can.
back, obviously she's being ridiculed, and so she kind of gets into the fetal position, and talking about chasing ghosts. And then next thing you know, the very last page, the very end of the comic is, you know, she just says, "Okay, who is it you're really hunting, Crash?" And then you can see tears going down her eyes as she says, "Do it." She starts to walk away, and then boom, tree's gone.
Right.
So it'll be interesting. Obviously the story continues in Crash and Burn, so we'll
That's right.
know more about um what happens and what the tree was, because we wouldn't really get much of a backstory here, but I do believe there's some meaning with those
Yes.
flashbacks, and I'm sure we'll find out in the second one.
And but from this issue, you can now read into the High Republic Adventures 7 and 8,
Yep.
which are in between this issue and the next one, which is Crash and Burn. So this one's Crash Landing. Then we go back to the High Republic Adventures, Dark Horse Comic Series Phase 3, issues 7 and 8. And then we go into Crash and Burn one shot. And then we finish off with issues 9, 10, and 11.
Yep.
And then it continues because for however long the High Republic will go.
Um, yeah. Unfortunately, we're nearing the end here in 2025, which is about halfway through 2025. I think it's
I
done.
know. I was so sad. I
So
was looking at the.
yeah,
But overall, what did you think of this issue, Bryce?
it was good. It didn't really not a lot of action. I mean, the action was literally within 2 pages, of the book. There was a lot of investigation.
Mm-hmm.
Like the laying the groundwork in this for 7 and 8, as you had mentioned. So this is like laying that groundwork for those
Mm-hmm.
2 episodes or
Right.
issues. So and at times, like I understood like this was a different um different style of the art. It was very, I would say, it was probably the most kid oriented
Hmm.
art I've seen. Not your typical that you would see from High Republic Adventures. But yeah, it was very. It's almost like it was everything there was like, yeah, it reminded me more of a kid's book, you
Yeah, it
know.
is. Hmm.
So,
Also, the
was
bright
easy to
colors.
understand. Yeah, very
Yeah,
very vibrant colors. Um, Not an overwhelmingly amount of dialogue, except for the point where Crix is just chatting for two straight pages. Uh, but no, it was good.
yeah, I liked it too. So, how many holocrons do you give it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would say 3.5. I'm usually, I'm always 4 north, but it was good. It was a good one shot. You get a little bit more character building. But the real action and everything takes place in the next the next two issues with how that goes, and then obviously Crash and Burn kind of finishes that whole arc.
That are correct, correct.
So
Yeah, I agree with you. I give it 3 holocrons because same things that you've said, you've mentioned already, but also I did like how it developed the characters, and I like how it fills in that vital information, so it's not as
yeah.
confusing when you go into the High Republic adventures and like, hey, where did he come from? And I was because when I remember we were reading them, and I was like, I was confused, like, wait a minute, they're friends now? And now I recognize after reading this one, it makes sense why they're friends. It's
Mhm.
because she's thinking he's going to be part of the plot to uh, assassinate Markion Rowe, and
Right.
all of her team is like, "It's not, what are you doing? You're wrong," and they don't believe
Mhm.
her. And she's like, "Wait a minute!" And she's like, "I've got to do this. This is our shot."
Yeah.
So she's in turmoil, and that's why at the end she doesn't know what to do, and she's like crying and thinking, "Well, they're all against me, but I know I can do
Right.
this."
Right. And
And
then yeah, there's obviously some big significance with in her mind that Tree is gone. So was
right.
Tree what was holding her back, or what was the significance there? So it'd be interesting to find out.
Right, right. And I did like that. I liked all the character development, seeing her with her partner, seeing Lula together with her partner. It's
Yep.
it's really nice. So,
Yeah. Very
and then
cool.
seeing Crix too with his demented mind of his self vision, that very much in line. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I give it three holocrons, and I'm usually giving you know a lot of holocrons, but overall, it's a good read, and you must read it to
It is
stay into the
good. Yeah.
story.
And if you want the full story,
It's
it's
vital
good
to the
to
plot line. Yeah.
absolutely. All right. Might have started
So,
that a little early,
oh, be sure to
but
order your props. It's okay.
no, we get the hyperspace props are the official sponsor of the Not So Virtual Cantina Special Edition in Japan. So pre-order
2025.
your credits and cosplay props at www.hyperspaceprops.com. Use code NSVCSE for 10% off.
Nice. And be sure to follow us on YouTube at Virtual Cantina Network, on Instagram at virtual.cantina network, on X, formerly Twitter, at Cantina Virtual, on Threads at virtual.cantina network, and on Hive at Virtual Cantina, as well as TikTok at Virtual Cantina. And like the VCN Star Wars Celebration Japan 2025 Facebook page, that's our mothership. And shout out to our partners who are not in
So
the.
Star Wars book nerds,
Yeah,
ran by a great group of people over there, and now part of the Virtual Cantina family. I'm happy to say my page, Star Wars Comic Book Club, is now under the Virtual Cantina umbrella. So
shout out to both of them. Great partners for our show.
heck
And
yeah.
please comment, like, and subscribe. And if you have
Yes,
any,
please
uh,
comment. Mike likes to talk.
I do like to talk. If you have any comments, please, I'll respond to you. I promise. And we'll see you next time as we continue this High Republic Adventure series. Thanks for
All right.
joining.
May the force be with you.
Live long and prosper.